Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Knockout Analysis presented by Gronyo Media. I am your host, Ethan Chronister, your co-host, Mr. Whit Barnes. And today, we will unfortunately be talking about an Apex card. But what's also unfortunate is this is the last event of the year, and the last event for 6 weeks? So you're about to see me and Mr. Barnes get real creative over the next 6 weeks on how to keep content coming out for you guys. That being said, we will now get right into it after we slightly go over what happened in last week's events, where we saw the belt of two different divisions change hands, one of which was an unfortunate circumstance, the other of which was just a dominant performance by Piotr Jan. But Pantoja, his arms fucked. Josh Van, they were doing exactly what everyone thought they were going to do. They were trading in the pocket. Just a poorly placed or a poorly timed kick and dodge from Pantoja and Van resulted in a gruesome arm injury for Pantoja. And shout out to Josh Van for not punching him while he was on the ground, because Pantoja, he was very out of it, probably in shock from what just happened to his arm. So big props to Van for not hitting him while he was down. And big props to the referee for actually listening to the fighter when he said stop the fight, because his arm was fucked. That being said, Sam Alvey did not get that same treatment from his referee. But that's a song and dance for a different time, because Sam Alvey released a video today saying that he's the reason why the ref didn't start the fight or stop the fight. Because he said, and I quote, I told him not to. He said, I'm big and I can take it. Don't do it unless I'm flatlined. And he got flatlined. So shout out to him if that's what he really wants to do. If he wants to risk his life like that every single time he fights, shout out to him. But he got absolutely hornswoggled by a man that was not very good in the UFC. But that's, again, a song and dance for another time. There were some other highlights of that card that we'll go over just real quick. It was, all in all, it was a pretty decent card for the last pay-per-view fight of the year. What stood out to you?
Man. I mean, the Ibo Aslan fight and the Ibo Baroneski fight, I mean, everybody's talking about it. That fight was an absolute war for the 89 seconds that it went on. And it was really just 50-50, two dudes absolutely brawling. Loved that fight. Farisi now has a spot in the rankings. He also had a great performance. Like, he's done time and time again. He deserves it. Ranked at number 15 in lightweight. Probably should be higher.
We witnessed the standing guillotine from Abdul Malik.
The second straight ridiculous fight, Antonio Trocoli has been standing guillotined. It's kind of embarrassing. Yeah. At a professional, high-level MMA, you know, that happens in amateurs, man. That's not supposed to happen 2 times in a row in the UFC to a guy. Yeah. It's funny, man.
Chris Duncan handling adversity to get the submission. Half-guard Dawson getting absolutely brutalized in front of our very eyes. And we got to witness a draw, which is something that we have yet to have this year and on the podcast. So that being said, and Tatsuro Taira might actually be the real deal. Some may call it a fluke win, but he looked pretty good. That's all I got to say.
Earliest stoppage I've ever seen in my life.
Peyton Talbot sent Henry Cejudo to Cancun with a loss. But that is definitely like a Dustin Poirier level retirement. Like it was time for Cejudo to go. He did not look very good at all. That being said, we will now move into this week's events, where we have Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape at the Apex. That's the headliner. Not gonna waste too much time with this first fight especially. We have Jamie Lynn Horth out of Canada facing Teresa Bleda out of wherever the fuck she's from, Czechia, I think. Um, Bunch of midgets that are gonna throw down in the middle, have a really shitty wrestling match for 15 minutes, and probably come out to an ugly split decision victory for Jamie Lynn Horth. That's all I really care to say about it.
Yeah. Normally, I would say that Bleda hasn't been in the cage for some time and she's taking a lot of time off, but she's also super young. She got in the UFC whenever she was, we do some math here, 21 years old. So I imagine she's been training. She's 1-1 in the UFC, one of the losses being Natalia Silva, and her last win in June of 2023 has aged well with Gabriela Fernandez. I'm going to take the younger fighter here if this is going to be a decision. Um, Go grab your beer, go get your pizza for this one, and there will be heavyweights whenever you come home.
Which will move us directly into it. We have two fighters making their UFC debuts, both of which are putting their undefeated records on the line, both of which are absolute units. You have 6'5", 255-pound Alan Fry Jr. facing off against fucking Guarme Pat. I don't even know. Brazilian, 6'6", 265. Fucking Johnny Walker level build that he's got going on there. These guys are absolutely ripped. They're jacked. Pat here, he is going to be a fighter that looks to. I mean, he's got 3 knockouts, it looks like. He does have a win in Spartacus MMA where the fighter quit in the middle of the round. So take that for what you will. But I mean, he got a knockout win in LFA in his last win in 2024, and I guess that was all Dana White needed to see to get him signed. Mr. Fry, on the other hand, Mr. Fry likes to knock people out. He has 6 wins and technically 6 knockouts. His last fight coming just a couple months ago in September, where he had a first round knockout victory over Justin Frazier. And I'm going to pick him to win this fight here. Maybe it's American biased, I don't know. But give me Alan Fry Jr. here. I think he stops this in the first round with a knockout.
Yeah, I'm more than likely going to agree with Kron on this one. If you look at the heavyweight landscape, Dana White and Mick Maynard, Hunter Campbell, they've just been saying, hey, we'll sign anybody. We're not even going to make you go through the contender series. If you want to be active, if you have 5 professional wins, we will sign you to our heavyweight division. And this is kind of like a tryout for these guys a few weeks ago, and I think this should be a lesson to these guys that are about to go out there and fight. The Denzel Freeman fought that one Polish dude, and it was not a good fight. Just a bunch of leg kicks at range. That Polish dude, they pretty much said to him, you're either fighting in January or we're cutting you. And they cut him because he didn't want to fight in January. And these guys, if they want to both retain their spot in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, they need to put on an entertaining performance, considering that they got in here because I think the UFC's kind of desperate. I'm going to take the younger fighter who has more wins and who has early finishes all throughout. Honestly, Guilherme might have one too. Might have all early finishes. No, he has a decision win. I mean, you could favor him and say, well, this guy has the ability to fight for 15 minutes and win. But fight, music show, whatever the hell that is, I mean, I'm not going to put a lot of respect on it. I'm going to look at the odds here, man. I mean, it should be a pretty 50-50 fight. Yeah, Alan Fry's actually a plus 150 favorite per fight odds. I'm going to take him, man. I'm going to take the underdog in a heavyweight fight where both guys don't have a whole lot of professional MMA experience. Give me Alan Fry Jr., man, by early knockout.
That'll move us to the next one, where we have the Canadian Melissa Croden facing off against Luana Santos. Luana Santos, I believe we've covered her already once this year when she fought Lisboa and she won via submission. I swear, dude, the UFC loves to have submission victories with 1 second left in the round. It's absolutely gnarly. But that'll be her opponent. We also and she, it's the same person. They're both their wins, their last wins came from the same person, Mrs. Lisboa. So she should probably rethink her life choices. But you have 6 wins by knockout for Melissa Scare Croden, facing off against Luana Santos, who has 1 knockout win, 5 wins by submission, but only 2 losses in her career. So you have a ground fighter facing off against a hand thrower. This is going to be an interesting stylistic matchup, I think. It's going to really depend on how well Melissa Croden can stop the takedowns that are surely going to be thrown her way by Luana Santos. So we'll see what happens, but I'm going to give Melissa Croden the victory here, and I think she might finish it late. I say 3rd round TKO.
Yeah, it's a coin flip. It's women's bantamweight, unranked women's bantamweight up that, the rare and elusive fight of that nature. I don't know. Just give me Luana Santos. I think she's going to take her down, but I don't think she's going to get a submission. I expect this to be a slower paced fight. Style makes fights type of fight. And usually in lower level women's MMA, the woman that can grapple is the one that usually wins based off what I've seen from time to time. Give me Santos to win it by a nasty decision.
That'll move us into the next one where we have the highly anticipated debut of Stephen Concrete Asplund facing off against Sean Sheriff or Sheriff. I'm pretty sure it's Sheriff. He's ass. He lost to Junior Taffa or Justin Taffa. Either one, whichever one it is, doesn't make it any better, whichever one, because they both fucking suck. They're both about to be disbanded from the UFC, and if they're not, they're both about to be on the main card at the White House fucking card because they have the best agent of all time. I don't need to go any further. Steven Asplund is going to flatline this man in the first round, probably within the first 2.5 minutes of the fight, and we'll be seeing him next time in LFA.
Yeah, let's do some quick MMA math here, guys. Anthony Garaccio is better than anybody that Sean Sheriff has ever beat. The guy got a short notice call to fight the Taffa brother, whichever one. I think it was Junior Taffa, and he got it as a 4-0 fighter. Extreme Couture is a bigger gym, and I imagine they were just called and say, "Hey, man, we need some guy to go to Vegas in the Apex to fight one of the Taffa brothers," and they said yes. But losing to one of the Taffa brothers, man, it's not a good look by any means. I think the UFC just tries to give them layups against guys just to keep them around for the Australia cards, which they always pull out in. And I'm honestly surprised Sean Sheriff got another fight. Like, some of these debut guys, they'll get cut if they have a bad performance, like that Polish guy I was previously mentioning that fought Denzel Freeman. You look at Zach Scroggin that fought Zaleski Dos Santos. Some of these guys only get one shot, and I expected that for Sean Sheriff, especially losing to one of the worst fighters in the promotion currently. I think Steven Asplund is going to pour some concrete in Sean Sheriff's ass in this fight. I'm going to give me a first round knockout. We look at the odds here. Steven Asplund is only a minus 230 favorite. I think that's kind of nuts. I think there's value there. Sneak it in a parlay. Steven Asplund, he's not going to get knocked out by Sean Sheriff.
That'll move us into the next one where we have 31-13 Neil Magny facing off against Yaroslav Amasev, the Ukrainian soldier himself. This is going to be an absolute devastating match for Neil Magny that he'll probably find a way to scrap it out for 2 rounds. Unfortunately, eventually the rage of being from a war-torn country that's getting invaded every single day is going to take over for Amasev, and he's going to brutally knock Neil Magny into the canvas and improve his record to 29-1, and I think he does that early round three.
Yeah. If this fight happened before Neil Magny's two-fight run, I think Amosov would be an 8 or 900 favorite. He's a minus 400 right now. But quite frankly, man, I think there's value there. A lot of people say, well, Neil Magny's always a huge underdog, and he finds a way to win. Yeah, he beats Zaleski dos Santos, who hasn't beaten anybody in the last few years. His last 4 or 5 fights, he's 1-4, I believe. Yeah, I mean, he's 1-3. Good memory wit. And Jake Matthews, that was just a weird scenario in general. That fight was kind of controversial, but he went out there and he got it done. Neil Magny's really only good in the third round. He loses every round of his fight, and then he pulls one out of his ass if the other guy gasses out. Amosov gets the war-torn country advantage, as Kron mentioned. He's 28-1. He has 5-round experience. I don't think this guy is going to gas out. He's also been in contract talks with the UFC for quite some time. I'm glad they could finally get him in here because this is a name that a lot of people have wanted to see. Logan Storley's a great win. Douglas Lima is a great win. He also beat Roberto Soldic, who beat Dricus du Plessis once upon a time. So this guy has some good names on his resume. Neil Magny, there's a lot of guys he can beat, but I think Amosov's he's gonna finish this fight, and he's gonna get somebody near the rankings for sure, or maybe even in the rankings. His record speaks for itself. His country is war torn. This guy is coming in the UFC looking to rep Ukraine. Give me Amosov by a second round sub.
Yeah, and I mean, Amosov has already shown that the only way he's going to lose is if you knock him out. So, I don't
He
think
got
Neil
knocked out by
Magny
a
knocks him
sprawl.
out.
He got knocked out by a sprawl.
That'll move us into the next one where we have Joe Anderson Brito facing off against Isaac Thompson. Isaac Thompson appears to be fighting out of the Kiwi region of the world. He is coming off of a split decision win in his LFA last fight in the LFA. I guess, again, that was all the decision that Dana White needed to see to bring him in. He'll be facing off against Joe Anderson Brito, who was coming off of a loss earlier this year to Pat Sabatini in unanimous decision fashion. I know he's from the LFA, but I don't really know if the level of competition that he's had to face is going to stack up to what Joe Anderson Brito has had to face. So I'm not going to be too confident in a pick here on him. So give me Joe Anderson Brito here, and I think he wins it probably by unanimous decision, 29-28.
Yeah, for those who may not be aware that are watching, Joe Anderson Brito was supposed to fight Melsik Bagdasaryan, and that was kind of my WrestleMania. I was excited for that one, but Melsik couldn't fight, so this is like on 3 days' notice that Isaac will be fighting Mr. Brito, and I think this is a sheep to slaughter situation. These odds opened up as a minus 700 for Brito, but I guess everybody thinks he's going to lose because he's now a minus 220, which is truly comical if you ask me. I try to do some research on Twitter as to why this is, and I guess people think Brito's a scrub because he's lost his last 2 fights. I mean, the William Gomez is a fight I really put into asterisks by.
The Ethan Ewing incident too. I don't think anybody's thinking
that as
short.
well.
I don't think anyone's thinking short notice guys are just pushovers anymore after that.
Yeah, and I will mention that too, for sure, because Ethan Ewing has changed perspectives, but how many of these guys really go out there and win? I don't think Joe Anderson Brito, man, I don't think he's losing to this dude. The William Gomez fight was in France. He landed more damage in that fight. I think he won. Pat half-guard Sabatini, you know what he does. He just lays on people for a long period of time. I just think that's an unlucky draw for Joe Anderson, and I think this is a chance for him to get back on track. Shoot Box has had a really good year as far as being in a gym. A lot of their fighters have picked up wins. And I think Joe Anderson's going to get back on track with this one. I think this is easier than the Melsick fight was going to be. He's a violent dude. I think he's going to go out there. I think he's going to get the KO. Give me him to get it done pretty early. I'll say second round.
That'll move us into the next one where we will have 5th ranked Amanda Lemos facing off against 10th ranked Jillian Robertson. This is going to be a probably drag out knockout fight here. You have Lemos coming off of a loss in her last fight to Suarez, and Miss Robertson's coming off of a win in her last fight against Rodriguez. Both of those fights earlier this year, I do believe. Miss Robertson here is a fighter that prefers to stay on the ground. She has 9 submission victories in her 16 wins, 12 finishes altogether. She is on a 4-fight win streak coming into this one. And her opponent, Amanda Lemos, is a knockout specialist, having 8 knockouts in her 15 wins, 11 finishes altogether. She is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. I think momentum favors in this fight. I think Jillian Robertson's going to win this fight. I don't see a finish, so give me a unanimous decision victory for Jillian Robertson. She is 8 years younger. So, who knows, this could end up being Amanda Lemos' last fight if she doesn't look very good.
Yeah, man, I mean, I like this fight as well. I think this is one of the more entertaining women's matchups you can make. Amanda Lemos went out there and beat Yasmin Alcindor, another young and upcoming contender. Really ruined the hype train at UFC 313, and then she had a number 1 contender fight against Tatiana Suarez, and she was a huge underdog coming into that, but she made it incredibly competitive. And she did some very athletic things, and that I was impressed, to say the least. I'm going to argue that she beat Tatiana Suarez. I wasn't super convinced. I think it was a close 29-28. I think they got her right on that one, but it is impressive considering Suarez's track record as a MMA fighter. And Lemos, I don't think she's going to go out here and lose this one. You look at Jillian Robertson's recent victories. Marina Rodriguez is mostly a striker for the most part. She doesn't really know what she's doing on the ground, and that's where Gillian's her best. Michelle Waterson-Gomez, she beat her in her retirement fight. Made it look pretty easy. And Luana Pinheiro, I mean, you can take that for what it is. Luana Pinheiro's 0-4. She's lost her last 4 fights. So I'm not going to circle that and say it's way too impressive. I think the scrambling of Amanda Lemos is really good. I think she's better on the feet. The ground is where this fight's probably going to take. I think it's going to be pretty grapple heavy. I expect this to go decision, to be close. Looking at the odds, should be a 50-50 now. Jillian Robinson is a 2-1 favorite on a -200. It's women's MMA. I would never put money on it, but I think the value's on Lemos. I'm gonna take her to win a close split decision. I'll damage her a little bit in the apex.
That'll move us into the next one, where we have Bobby Green facing off against Lance Gibson Jr. Lance Gibson Jr. is going to be making his debut, and I would wager to say the UFC is giving him a layup right off the bat. And fuck King Green, fuck Bobby Green, fuck whatever you want to call him. He's a bum, he's a scrub. Paddy Pimblett knocked him out and submitted him and broke his arm at the same time. Fuck that guy. We all know what he's going to do. He's going to show up dripped out with $100,000 in jewelry on, make weight. He's going to come in there. He's going to get knocked the fuck out again, and he's going to talk shit about, well, if I was younger, or, back in Philly or wherever the fuck he's from. No one gives a shit. Your ass. We'll see you in fucking XFN, buddy. That's how bad you are. XFN's a great promotion, and they would probably have amateurs. Nate Kine could probably beat your ass. Tater McSpadden could beat your ass. Tracy Reeder could beat your ass. Cat Daddy White could beat your ass. Talon Funk could beat your ass. Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Green, King Green, whatever people want to call him. I mean, I think he's a skilled fighter, but at the same time, I think his chin's done. I think it's gone. I think anybody that's competent on the feet can land a KO blow on him. You see guys that are skilled, like Nikita Krylov, who I once considered a champion level fighter. His chin's not there anymore. It doesn't really matter how skilled you are if your chin's gone. Lance Gibson Jr., his father, Lance Gibson, fought in the UFC once upon a time. This is a legacy fighter as far as this goes, and he's making his debut. They had been looking for an opponent for King Ring for about a month now, and they found it this week. Lance Gibson will make his debut, and I think he has more than enough capabilities on the feet to go out there and finish King Green pretty early. I just think it's the beginning of the end for
He
King
could have
Green.
no
It may
ability and
even
still
be
finish King Green.
the middle of the end. I think
It's
King
the
Green
end
can
of the
only
end.
really beat guys. I think he could really only beat guys that really have no power or are just like pure grapplers. I just don't see him beating anybody that's young and has power at this point. And I think Lance Gibson, with his 4 knockout victories, a few of those coming in Bellator, give me him to win this, bro. If we look at the odds here, who is it? Yeah, he's a plus 180. That's a joke. Um, yeah, smash that plus 180, man. Give me Lance Gibson Jr. to win by KO, and in the first 7 minutes of the fight, I'll have to pull out my first 7 minutes at least once.
That'll bring us to the next one. We have Kennedy Nzechukwu out of Nigeria facing off against Marcus Buchecha out of Brazil. Kennedy was the unfortunate victim to a Walter Walker heel hook submission in his last fight. I don't know how the fuck Walter Walker keeps doing that, but he does in fact keep doing that. Buchecha coming off of a loss in his last fight to Martin Boudet. He lost that fight in a unanimous decision fashion. I think Nzechukwu is going to be pretty pissed off at the fact that he lost his ranking spot he lost his fringe ranking spot to Walter Walker. I think he comes back with a vengeance in this one. I think he brutally pounds Buchecha into the canvas. I got a first round KO for Nzechukwu in this one.
Yeah, I think Marcus Buchecha is another example of what I was speaking on earlier. The UFC will bring in anybody with a decent 5 wins. If you have 5 wins, the UFC will bring you in and they will sign you. These are from one championship, so I do put some merit on them. And it's funny because Martin Boudet won against Marcus Buchecha and he ended up getting cut. And Marcus is still around. Everybody knows he's great in the BJJ world. Dude's very good there. I think he's a world champion as far as being on the mat, but this is different than that, man. You don't get punched in BJJ while you're scrambling and while you're going for submissions. And I think this may be the most danger on the feet besides maybe an Omar Kane. I think that's around the same type of power. They both have that African power. Omar Kane and Kennedy Nzechukwu does.
Kyle Pitts has 32 points, by the way.
Shout out Kyle Pitts. Hold on, he scored another one. Look at Kyle Pitts, man.
He's got 6 for 110 and 2 touchdowns right now against me, by the way. Me and Witt have each other round 1 of the playoffs in our fantasy league. Sick.
All I know is Kennedy Nzechukwu, I think he's going to go out here and win this. I think he's been training in the grappling. He's only been submitted 2 times. One of them is by heel hook Walker, who does that to everybody, and Paul Craig, way back in the day, 6 years ago, whenever Paul Craig was on his potential title run that fell short. He is also Carlos Ulberg's father. For those who do not know, this man is Carlos Ulberg's father. Nobody could possibly forget about that. Taking away a 0. Give me Kennedy Nzechukwu. I think he's going to be ranked at heavyweight. I think he's more than skilled enough to do it. I don't know why the UFC is giving him a bunch of grapplers right now, because he's a very entertaining stand-up fighter, and there's plenty of guys in this division they can match him up with. But I don't know. Marcus Buchecha, Max Jimenez, I think that's going to be a matchup one day, and it's going to be absolutely hilarious. I think they're the same type of fighter. and they're both just guys. I think Kennedy's going to go out there and he's going to use his reach and he's going to knock out Marcus Pacheco in the first round. Smash that minus 130, by the way. That's what Kennedy as a Chukwu's line is.
All right, that'll move us into the next one where we have Brazilian Dennis Rodman, Melquizael Costa facing off against Morgan Charrier, the last Pirate. Both of these guys are coming off of victories in their last fights. Charrier had a bit of a layup in his last fight after he was defeated in the fight he had before that, which I believe was our very first or one of our very first cards that we talked about. Melquizael Costa facing Erosa in his last fight got a victory. His fight before that got a victory. Andre Touchy-Feely earlier in the year got a victory. So he has 3 wins this year. He's looking to close it out with 4 this year. And I think he does it. I think he does just that. And I think he wins a decision victory here for Milk Coffee.
Yeah, Mel Costa's had one of the best 2025s out of any UFC fighter. He has 3 straight wins against very good competition. Cron correctly predicted that his fight with Julian Erosa would be fight of the night, and it in fact was. That was an absolute banger. The Christian Rodriguez fight, a fight that I didn't pick him to win. Another really good fight. And Andre Feely, nobody does that to Andre Feely, you know? Subs him in the first round. It's a tough task, you know? Melquizael, man, I think he's going to go out there. Morgan Charrier, I think his record's a little deceiving. I don't think he's as bad as a 21-11 fighter is. He went out there and had a war with Nate Landwehr. Nathaniel Wood's been rising up the rankings. I'm pretty sure he's on a he's on a 3-fight win streak against some decent fighters. Give me Melquizael to finish off his great 2025 4-0. I think this fight will be a decision, and I also think I'm going to go out there and say it. I think this will be fight of the night, this or the main event. I expect these guys to absolutely trade and throw hands because that's what they do in a lot of their matches. So, but give me Melquizael to go out there in 29-28, decision it. Shout out Morgan Charrier. Shout out both these guys. I expect an absolute war.
That'll move us to the next one where we have Cesar Almeida facing off against Kazari Olajashik, who is the brother of Michael Olajashik. He won his Contender Series fight earlier in September via hammer fist in round 1 at 36 seconds on the clock. He will be given Cesar Almeida here, coming off of a win in his last fight against Al Hassan. He also won his fight before that against Potiera. I think this is a decent matchup here for Olajashik. I think the UFC is giving him a decent enough opponent based off of the skill level that he showcased in the Contender Series. Probably also just based off the fact that his brother's so good, so why isn't he? So I think this is a real shot for Olajashik here to have a chance to get closer to the rankings. I say he wins this fight, and I think he wins it by first round knockout. I'm gonna predict it bold.
Yeah, I think these guys are gonna go out and brawl. This fight I could see being fight of the night, but also I don't think it's gonna be long enough to be fight of the night. I think there will be a performance bonus for one of these gentlemen, whoever wins respectively. Cesar Almeida, man, is one of the most hated on and disrespected fighters in the UFC. People say he's just a kickboxer. Like, some people go out here and say the word kickboxer like it's a slur based off the way that they say it. It's kind of funny, but Cesar Almeida isn't just a kickboxer. He is a world champion kickboxer at that. He has beaten Alex Pereira in glory. So take that one for what you will. It is quite impressive. Very few guys were able to do that. Alex Pereira is a Mount Rushmore level kickboxer, believe it or not. And people are sitting there saying, oh, you just need to take Cesar down. Well, Cesar, he's not the easiest guy to take down and hold down. Roman Kopylov was able to kind of do that, but I think Cesar landed more damage and better strikes in that fight. I think he should have gotten the nod. I remember watching that live, and Roman got stood up 2 times because he wasn't able to find a submission or do anything on the ground. Like, I know that's not Roman's game, but if Cesar Almeida was just a kickboxer, he'd be getting subbed left and right, and he never has. And he showed advancement in that area against Potiera. That was a weird fight where they had like a boxing referee, and he just kept splitting him up in the clinch as soon as they would clinch. It was kind of funny. But let's go to the present day, though. And Abdul Razak Hassan, that fight was a banger. It was one of the knockouts of the year. If you did not see that, go watch it. It's an absolute banger of a knockout. And Cesar Almeida faced adversity, and he said, call an ambulance, but not for me. You don't really want to trade in the pocket with this guy. He's going to find his counter, and he's going to knock you out. He trains with Alex Pereira, Glover Teixeira, and Yusri Belgari at Teixeira Fitness out in Connecticut with a good camp that's very good at anti-wrestling. As you saw Yusri Belgari.
By the way, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. The Brazilians are strong in Connecticut, apparently. And Cesar has been recovering from a hand injury. He is back, and I expect him to be ready for Olszewski, who I don't think is going to take him down. I don't think this fight's going to even touch the ground. I expect them to go out there and trade like men. He does have some submission victories, but it was, 5 years ago? I don't expect him to go out there and do that. I expect a full-out war from top to bottom. Normally, I would favor the younger guy in this situation with a higher reach, but Cesar Almeida is not your average 37-year-old man. I think he'll be able to fight in this division into his 40s for sure. Give me Cesar. I think he's going to land a counter strike and get him out of here. I think Olszewski, and like a lot of these guys that are in the contender series this year, I think we're going to see a lot of them get finished, especially quite early. They were given not optimal levels of competition this year. I'll say I don't think the matchups were very balanced. I think Cesar got through a bone, and he did what he was supposed to do against Thiago Hague. But I expect him to develop. If he loses this, which I expect him to do, I think they're going to give him like a Dusko Todorovic or a Dennis Tululin if he's still around, and he's going to easily win that. But Cesar Almeida is a very tough debut, to say the least. I'm going to pick him to go out there and get a counterpunch knockout late in the first.
This is going to move us into what I humbly think will be the fight of the night. This is Cron's fight of the night prediction. We have 15th ranked Giga Chikadze facing off against Kevin Vallejos in a absolute Cron predicting brawl here. We have 16-1 Kevin Vallejos fighting out of Argentina, facing off against 15-5 Giga Chikadze. The reason why I think this fight is going to be a brawl is because Giga Chikadze is coming off of 2 straight losses, and his ranking is on the line. So I think he has no choice simply but to brawl. And I think brawl is exactly what he's going to do. He's going to face off against Kevin Vallejos. Vallejos coming off of a win in his last fight against Danny Silva. Before that, earlier in the year, he knocked out Sungwoo Choi. I think that this is going to be a fight that makes it all the way to the 3rd round. I think that Giga Chikadze is going to find something later in this fight. I think maybe he finds a counter, kind of like Whit was saying for the last one. But I think he's going to sleep Kevin Vallejos here. I think he does it real late. I think he wins this fight by knockout, and I think he claims his fight of the night bonus.
Yeah, I mean, Giga, I think it would be very impressive if he was able to turn back the clock and do that, man. After his last fight against David Onama, which I saw in a dream that he was going to win by a head kick knockout.
Didn't happen.
And that whole entire fight in general played out. It's hard for me to even pick him anymore. He's 37. He's had some great fights, some great main events, but I think it's over. I think it's over. More over than it's ever been. It's never been more over. I must emphasize. Giga Chikadze, he really only has like 1 round of good cardio. He'll go out there and he'll win the first round, but in the David Anamas fight specifically, he went out there, like I said, dominated the first round. And then the second and third round, he just kept getting taken down. He was able to get back up, but he just didn't have the power in his shots to really earn the respect of a David O'Neill, who I cannot believe is ranked in featherweight. I never thought I would see the day. Um, Kevin Vallejos, that dude can box. He's kind of tiny for featherweight, but he's young. He has nasty hands. His fight with Danny Silva was an absolute banger. It would have been fight on the night on any other card, but that specific Apex card was is something as a card I would nominate for card of the year. There was so many wars on that one. The Sunwood Choi fight was fire, very quick. You know, Carl and I have predicted all of Kevin Vallejos' fights of his career in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I've picked him to win all three, both of the previous ones. I'm going to pick him again. Give me Kevin Vallejos. I don't think he's going to go out there and finish him, but I expect a 29-28 decision. Vallejos wins the latter rounds.
I just need you guys, the good people, to know that in the big 2025, David Sills the fifth has 20 receiving yards in an NFL game.
People forget, man.
Just need y'all to know that. Will Greer's right hand man. But that'll move us into the next one. The main event, the pinnacle of the evening, where we will have 6th ranked Manel Kape facing off against 2nd ranked Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval coming off of a loss in his last fight to the now champion Joshua Van. So that loss has aged well. Manel Kape coming off of a win in his last fight against Asu Amabayev. That fight ended with a third round knockout earlier this year. Kape was supposed to fight earlier this year. Fight fell through due to injury, I believe. This is probably, if I had to pick a second fight for fight of the night, it would probably be this one. But I also kind of echo the same concern that Witt had about the Almeida Olajashik fight. There's a chance this fight might not last long enough for that to happen. So, I mean, that's the reason why I picked the fight that I picked. I know that fight's probably going to go, if not the distance, at least 3 rounds. So, Manel Kape facing off against Royval here. As previously mentioned, Royval, 33 years old. Manel Kape, he's the younger guy here by a year. I don't know. This could end up being a turning of the tide here for Brandon Royval, but it could also end up being the start of a descent, a long, dark descent for him. I'm going to pick it, man. Give me Manel Kape. I think he knocks him out in round 4 here, and I think Brandon Royval has to fight his way back up the rankings.
Brandon Royval, he's a tough guy to finish, as Josh Van just recently experienced. He's another guy with a really deceiving record, because you think 17-8, wow, this guy's kind of a jobber, but no, he's the real deal. This guy can absolutely box and trade in the pocket, and Connor and I will probably make a video nominating our favorite knockouts and fights of the year. This is just a spoiler for me. Joshua Van and Brandon Royval is one of the greatest fights of all time. Absolutely beautiful performance by both men. They went out there and they put on for the people. They got very compensated very well for it as well. As long as becoming legends, I would love to see a 5-round title fight of those two gentlemen. And I think if Brandon Royval goes out here and does what he needs to do and goes out here and gets a win, I think that very well could be the fight to make while Pantoja's elbow continues to heal.
Because make no mistake, when Pantoja comes back, he's getting a title shot immediately.
No question about it. Brandon Moreno win in February 2024. Tatsuro Taira. Nobody thought he was going to beat Tatsuro Taira. I was like, come on now. Tatsuro Taira has the boxing of Grant Dawson. Luckily, he has a little bit of a better chin. The Brandon Royval, he's taking zeros. He's beating prospects. I think Josh Van is just an absolute menace, and he's going to be fighting around the title for flyweight for quite some time. And I think Brandon Royval, I think if that fight happens 100 times, it'll be entertaining 100 times. I'm going to pick him to win, but I will highlight Manel Kape, bro. Manel Kape, Good win over Asil Almabayev. But dude, this guy, he's one of those fighters. I'll believe he's fighting whenever the bell rings in the first round. This guy pulls out of a lot of fights. I think this was the second time or third time this fight was rescheduled. He was initially supposed to be his opponent whenever Josh Van pulled up on short notice to fight Brandon Royval because Manel Kape pulled out. Um, and
Because
Manel
he
Kape and
needs to.
Brandon Royval were all supposed to fight whenever Asil Mabayev fought Manel Kape. I know that's really confusing, but this is the third time this fight has been scheduled. I'll just leave it at that. I think that this is going to be a banger. This fight isn't going to go to the ground. Manel Kape's not really interested in that. I don't think Brandon Royval is either. I expect these guys to train in the pocket like absolute men, and this will be an absolute badass main event in front of a crowd of 100 people. So give me Brandon Royval to go out there and do it. I'm going to pick the same round as Kron, but a different result. I'm going to go fourth round finish. Brandon Royval in an absolute schlobber knocker.
That'll bring us to the conclusion of this one. We have, again, Royval versus Kape fight night at the Apex in Vegas. This is the last event of 2025. This is the last event for 6 weeks, really. And then, do they open it right back up with a pay-per-view card, or is there an Apex card before it?
Back-to-back pay-per-view cards.
Okay, so they're going to make the 6 weeks worth it. So that's good. And one of those cards is already stacked full of bangers. So that'll be good.
Wars.
But that'll bring us to the end of this one. Be sure to like us on YouTube. Check us out. Subscribe, comment, turn on the bell so you know when we post again. We're going to try to slip in some stuff, and for that 6 weeks, we'll probably have our picks, like Whit said. I may just preview it now. We may just go ahead and do our Cronio Media Knockout Analysis Awards show for what we think is the best idea, or the best fights, best fighters, all the same awards that they would pick for real MMA fighters. We'll pick them ourselves. So there's one video idea that we're going to have for that. And then we'll probably try to slip some interviews in as well, see who we can get on the pod. You know, Conor McGregor, I've got his phone number now, so maybe we'll get him on. You know, see what kind of, as he calls himself, anti-Semite things. Bryce Mitchell, you know, he might want to come on the pod. You know, we have friends of the show, Tracy Reeder, Tater McSpadden, Cat Daddy White. We may try to get them on. Maybe one day we'll get Jimmy Flick My Bean on here. Like, there's so many people that we could get on here, and we're just going to keep trying to do it, because here at Cronio Media, we don't stop till we get what we want. And that is great success in the MMA industry. We appreciate you guys being a part of it, and we'll see you in the next one.